There we go. Sorry about that technical difficulties. Hope you guys are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. We have a lot to talk about. There was a presser today, and there's actually some more information that I have outside of the presser that we're going to share here today as well. So before we get into all of that with what happened, because I've seen a lot of people have TikTok streaming right here. I have you guys streaming right here. We have a few things that they basically said, sorry, ADD for a moment. They said that a lot of what happened at the press conference is over their head. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Micah's Law and what she said and what we are going to do to possibly help change that, because I've already made a phone call to help try to affect change when it comes to this. And I'll explain to you what I mean with this. And it's, guys, it's all about networking and who you know and how you can possibly get things done. And as a lot of y'all know, I have a very good friend when it comes to domestic violence issues, DV issues, that we can leverage. And we're going to talk about him in a moment as well. But before we do, you guys know how this works. I got to pay the bills, right? So, you know what? I'm going to skip the podcast. For those of y'all who want to know, I have a podcast. There you go. I want to talk about the books real quick. I actually just got an influx in yesterday of books. So I've been promoting them on the show, but I've not been promoting that much on TikTok lately because I'm worried about running out. Anyways, that being said, I was looking at some of the comments that are making me laugh a little bit. This book is called Boundaries that I'm showing right now. It is basically designed if you are a parent of, if you're no contact and you're a parent, this is a way to explain why you're no contact to your kids in a way that's easy for them to understand, that doesn't vilify that person. And I'll be frank with you, even if you're an adult, a lot of adults, and you can read the reviews on this book, say that it helped them, their older teens, people in their 20s, and them as adults heal their inner child. You can get it through justontiktok.com or through the TikTok shop, which oftentimes TikTok shop will give you coupons, so you can look at it there. The other book that I have is called Surprise Are Okay, Secrets Are Not. And this was the one that I got the most of, because I'm going to be honest, I was so worried that I was going to sell out before I got a shipment. I was down to like 30 of them, and I'm like, oh, let me just not really share these books out that much because I'm going to run out. But I've got 1,000 of them in. So these are all the soft covers, still waiting on the hard covers to come in. They should be in any week now. They have been ordered at the same time, but you can pre-order hard covers of this version on my website only, but you can get that at TikTok shop as well. Now, this is a book, though, Surprise Are Okay, Secrets Are Not, is a book that every person should have, every parent should have in their arsenal, because this is this book that teaches kids not to keep secrets when bad things happen. And as a parent, it is a tool that you need to prevent. This is going to sound really harsh. I don't want to be doing a story on y'all's kids. You know, I don't want to be doing a story on your kids. So go to the website, check it out, or TikTok shop to get prices and information on which version that you want. And every one of them that you get will come signed. Every one of them. So yeah, if you order on Amazon, you can do that too. I don't have access to those though, so I won't be able to sign them. But that's basically it. The other thing that, of course, I have to talk about is, if you are a first time here, I'm trying to grow this, hit that subscribe button. If you are on TikTok watching this, hit that follow button, because we talk about a lot of things here. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get into the show, guys. You know, we had a press conference today. Actually, let me do this part first. Let me do this part first. I'm going to throw this up, okay? Joe Petito. All right. I was going to say this later in the show, but Joe Petito, if y'all saw him on my live yesterday, he will be in the sub live tonight, by the way, subs on TikTok. Sub live was moved till tonight. He will be in the live tonight to talk a little bit about this. I was at CrimeCon this past weekend, had an amazing time. It was very different than what I anticipated that it would be. And one thing that the Petitos are doing is they are raffling off VIP passes, hotel stay. Basically, all you'd have to do to get to CrimeCon, which is next year in September in Denver, Colorado, is figure out how to get there and pay for your own food, but everything else is going to be covered. They're raffling it off, and in order to get to that raffle, I'm showing you guys the website here. If you go to the link in my bio, justontiktok.com, it's scrolling down at the bottom here on YouTube. You scroll down to my link section. So below the books, below the podcast, to my link section, it'll be the second link, and you can click there. And the raffle tickets are $25 each. They go to the Gabby Petito Foundation, which is a phenomenal, phenomenal cause. And you get yourself entered into a raffle that would help you win these 2 VIP passes. Given the cost of tickets for CrimeCon, you can bet that I'm going to throw at least 25 bucks in for myself to see if I can possibly win it. But yeah, if you want to do that, money goes to a great cause, even if you don't win, but you have a chance of winning. And those, I mean, look, the non-VIP tickets like $300-400 bucks. So 2 VIPs, I mean, you're in hotel. That's the money, y'all. That's the money. So you can go to my website to register for that. And we're gonna talk about Joe again in a moment, but just want to make sure that you're aware of that. Before, though, we get into all of that, I want to show you guys a couple of things. I can't look past my camera to show you guys this, but hold on. There is a new website for Micah. Okay. The family sent this to me, and it is justiceformicah. Is it justiceformicah.com? I think it's Justice for Micah. Yeah, justiceformicah.com. Very easy. I don't know why I struggled on that. Justiceformicah.com. It'll give you the opportunity, as you can see here. You can hear her story, gives you a timeline. Y'all, this site is so comprehensive. Recent posts, press releases, archives, Micah's Facebook, everything where you can donate. Just so much here that you can do, how to contact this family. So justiceformicah.com. Go there. The other thing that Destiny sent me this morning, Destiny is one of Micah's sisters, was this. This is the new flyer. Let me get rid of my banner that's scrolling across here. This is the new flyer for Micah Miller. Now, if you are watching this on TikTok, you're like, I can't see this. I don't know what you're talking about. But I posted this flyer also on X and on Instagram for anybody who wants to go rip that flyer right off any of my pages. It is yours to do so, to share. Anything that you want to do. I think it's a really great flyer. I like how it was put together. It gives some information just for Micah and MicahMillerOfficial.com. And then, you know, it's got the Cash App, got the Venmo for the family. Those are all very much confirmed. So that is the digital flyer that they just put out there. And the other thing that I'm going to show you, and I will read it for you guys on TikTok, if you guys want to send them anything, any type of correspondence, gifts, whatever, I'm going to give you a P.O. box in a minute. So get your pens ready or get your app out so you can type it into. But basically, you know, I encourage them to get a P.O. box. I encourage them to do an Amazon wish list, which is what she's talking about here in the top. And I'm going to explain that in a second why before we get into all the updates. But I want to make sure y'all have this information first. But the P.O. box is P.O. Box 1121. So P.O. Box 1121, Gaffney, Gaffney, South Carolina, 29342. So again, P.O. Box 1121, Gaffney, South Carolina, 29342. And I, with the Amazon wish list, here's why I suggested that they do this, y'all. There's a lot of kids in this family. It's bad enough when you lose a loved one. It's that much tougher or more difficult when it's as public as a case like this is. And so, for example, when we had Sierra on, I think they said this when they were, either they said it when they were on, it was in private conversation. I can't remember which, but nevertheless, that her son just had a birthday and, you know, it got overshadowed by this tragic event. So, you know, these kids are going through it too, you know, trying to understand, trying to cope. So it's kind of a nice thing if people want to do so. She's working on getting an Amazon wish list for the kids. And once I have that, I'll, of course, make sure to share that with you all, because, again, I think it's important, right? Helping others. But that's that information. Both of those you should be able to rip. I'm pretty sure I have both of them on my Instagram and X. But, again, at least the digital flyer, go rip that. And I just see this real quick. I'm going to do this. We have a new member. So thank you so much for joining the team as a member. I appreciate you very much. In fact, you know what we need? I think that calls for a round of applause, right? Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel, supporting my content. Absolutely appreciate y'all. So that's all the pictures I have for you guys today. So let's talk about what the hell happened, right? Because we were all gearing up for there to be a court hearing today regarding the marital assets. And so there was a press conference. For those of y'all who saw the press conference, you know some of what we're going to talk about. And you're also going to wlearn some new information. And those who didn't see the press conference, you're going to learn something right now. So basically, there was a temporary order essentially issued by the judge. Okay, so what's happened here is they've come to an agreement. So this is regarding the marital assets specifically. Well, the marital assets, but then also specifically the assets that are being held by the Robeson County PD, which is her phone, her purse, and its contents, and the contents of the vehicle, and of course the vehicle itself. So obviously there is a division of marital assets. What was Micah's, what wasn't Micah's, what belongs to JP, and what portion that her estate deserves to have, as part of that. And so that's what they have to determine. And right now, JP is the husband. So should everything get released up until this agreement, it would have all been released to, as I understand it, at least, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, to JP. But that's not what's going to happen in this case. They agreed that once Robeson County is done with their investigation, when any other law enforcement agencies are done with their investigation of those items, when they are released, they will be released to Regina Ward, who is the Francis family attorney, Micah's family's attorney. It's not going to be released to JP, and it will be held by them until it is determined who needs to have it happen. Now, it is, with that said, the exception to that is going to be the vehicle. And y'all are saying, if you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. Regarding the vehicle, that actually was also titled in Micah's godmother's name. So that's not a marital asset. It will go back to Micah's godmother as soon as it is released. And yeah, that's what they're going to do. So I can tell you from talking through my conversations with JP Miller that his intention is to have everything go through probate first. Now, asking me to get into the depths in the weeds of probate law, I'm going to give you misinformation, so I don't want to do that. So I'm not going to do that. All right. What I am going to say is that my understanding is that right now with probate, I know that helps determine where these assets need to go, who gets them, who's determined to them, and my understanding, though, in South Carolina, that process right now is 1 to 4 years that they would have to wait. And basically during this time, they're not allowed to divest or change or alter or do anything that would affect those assets as long as they're still in question. And that's for either party, although JP holds all of them. So it really is more towards him on top of that, because when you're married in partnership, sometimes there are debts as well. So that's going to be part of it too, but he's not allowed to incur any more debts as a marital debt, meaning in her name since her passing. And nevertheless, for what we're talking about, this agreement that this is going to happen, not the probate part, but for this to be released, the items to be released to Regina Ward, the items, to basically determine the marital assets. This agreement was agreed upon by both the Francis family and by JP Miller. They are in accord with this, and so that is how it is. There was nothing that was happening today, and of course there will be updates. That doesn't mean that it's going to stop any other lawsuits or potential legal inquiries coming his way. It's specifically towards this. Now, regarding the property that Regina's holding, that doesn't mean he wouldn't be able to touch it or see it. He would be able to ask his attorney about getting access to some of that property. If he wants to see it, it would still stay in possession of Regina Ward in her law office. And I mean, that's basically it. They also agreed to respective restraining orders, and she made it very clear that nobody at this point has done anything to warrant, like JP hasn't done anything, the Francis family hasn't done anything, is what they're saying. To have this, it's really more of it's a mutual restraint that no party will dispose of or devalue any marital assets. It's also restrained about not incurring more debt, as I mentioned, from a marital standpoint. They're also restrained from communicating with each other, and the parties will communicate only through their attorneys. So that's kind of what they're talking about as far as a restraining order. Okay. You know what? Somebody asked a great question real quick, so I'm gonna stop for a second. I didn't realize it was still up there. I'm sorry. Let me take this one down real quick. And I see we have some new members. I will come back to y'all in about a moment. But there's a great question that somebody asked that I want to put up here. Retired EMT asked, he's already putting things in church's name. Wonder how that affects things. That is a phenomenal question. Okay. That is a phenomenal question. And so the answer to that is actually pretty basic. So, any judge is going to be able to see the transfer of value, like the house, for example, or any vehicles that were in his name that was both theirs, and it came after the divorce or after the filing for divorce, which is what happened. I think that he was served divorce papers in October, and by December, the house was in the church's name. Any judge is going to be able to see that, and they'll be able to reverse that. That's what would happen with things like that. So any judge, even their first day on the bench, could see that from a mile away. He I'm guessing, I didn't ask, I don't know this to be true, but I'm guessing that he did this as a way to protect the assets, protect, his interest. But a judge can easily reverse that. So it's a great question. It's a great question. So thank you for asking that. Now, that being said, there's another thing that happened today that we learned that is going to probably infuriate a lot of y'all. Okay? Infuriate a lot of y'all. There's been a petition, as a lot of you guys know, going around trying to enact something called Micah's Law. Okay? Without going into the weeds of what that law would entail, but obviously it involves around domestic, violence, domestic abuse. And what Regina Ward said is that people will be very happy to know that that law has been written and is sitting in front of legislators, has been presented to legislators in the state of South Carolina. What is infuriating is that that law has been sitting there, or that draft has been sitting there since February 2nd of 2020. Okay, over 4 years ago, almost 4.5 years ago. It was introduced again a couple times later. A similar bill was introduced 3 years ago, and it was sitting there collecting dust, y'all. It's a little infuriating. So before I get into the new details that I'm going to share with you guys, I want to tell you what I did. I'm sitting there and I'm watching the press conference. I'm watching Regina Ward talk, and once she explained what was happening, the vast majority was talking about this and the way that the legislation had failed, the way that this went down, that legislation has, Senate, state representatives have failed by just brushing this off. And somebody like Regina Ward is going to have contacts in the South Carolina state legislation, House and Senate. And so I called up her office and I told them who I was. They already knew who I was, but I told them who I was regardless. And I said, listen, I have a guy that can help with this, and he's very successful. I'd like to give you his information. Of course, they can call me back if they want to, which is Joseph Petito. Okay, and I'll say this real quick for everybody because domestic violence is important. While I'm talking about this, let me scroll this real quick, and then I'm going to get into some new information for you guys here in a second. But here's the domestic violence hotline. Scrolling below, it's 800-799-7233 or thehotline.org. Again, 800-799-7233. Or the hotline.org. If you or anyone you know is in a situation like this, needs help with domestic violence, please call this number. Don't be afraid. Don't hesitate, because it could save yours or their life. Now, with that said, since the incredibly tragic and public passing of Gabby Petito, Joe and Tara Petito, and Jim and Nikki Schmidt, Gabby's parents, have all spent their time with the Gabby Petito Foundation working diligently to try to change laws and to save lives, trying to prevent these types of events from happening. Okay. They have been successful in passing laws in 3 states, and they're almost about to be at 4 states, with New York it being on the docket. So I said, I'd like to introduce you to him. You guys, I know, have access to some of these people, and it's going to be real hard to say no to Joseph Petito, y'all. You don't tell that man no. He's too nice. And are you really going to say to somebody who went through something like what he went through, the loss, a very public loss, tragic loss of a child, no, you're not going to listen to that? That's not going to sit over well with constituents. So, I gave them his information. He's very willing to talk and find out what's going on with South Carolina and see where he can pick up it from there. So I'm really excited. Hope that something can come from that. That's what I'm saying, all about networking with things like all of this. Now, just real quick, again, before we get into these new things, I want to make sure that we recognize those who are doing things. Reality, thank you so much. Krista, thank you so much. I think you get air horns with that too. Gifted 5 memberships. I so appreciate you. Cindy with the, thank you for all that you do to help these families. And I'm going to say right back, thank you guys for listening, because we wouldn't be helping families without having a platform, and I would not have a platform without y'all. So it's not me. It is y'all, or it's both of us. And then Sherry, also thank you for that super chat. I truly appreciate you. So let's talk about some new information, guys. Let me get my little thing pulled up, my notes pulled up here, okay? because I got to be very careful on how I have to word some of this. Okay. So a lot of y'all may or may not know that I was on JLR Investigates last night, and we were talking about a lot of things. And I'll tell you, I'll be candid. A lot of JLR's people were not fans of me, and that's okay. That's okay. You don't have to like me. Some of those people lack critical thinking skills, and that's okay. That's not their fault, But other than that, it was a very good live. I loved speaking with JLR. I think our rapport was great, and we're hopefully going to do that again soon, maybe on my channel, maybe on his, not sure, but he's in South Carolina right now, regardless. He was at the press conference. You could actually hear him asking a question in the background. And anyways, one thing that he discovered, he's spoken to a couple of people who have also spoken to the FBI, and I will leave that part at that. And apparently Micah had confided in friends that JP brought home bags of cash once a week, and it was funneled into the church. What does that mean, guys? Bringing home bags of money and funneling it to the church. But bringing home bags of money, specifically from Crocodile Rocks, is how I understand it. Again, all this is allegedly until there's documents that come out. No accusations here because I don't want to C&D and I don't want to get sued. But yeah, bags of cash come running through. Talks about a lot of young women, underage girls and women going through. That's kind of some of the stuff that we're talking about here with this. JLR also reached out to me just before I went on this live, and I'm going to quote exactly what he said. He said, and he goes, remember to remind people that Micah lost money on 3 attorneys because they were unwilling to go against JP Miller. Regina Ward was the first and only attorney to help her. All right. JLR actually might come on for a few minutes. Let me grab this. He's just texting me. Give me 1 second, guys, to get him a link. He's making a video real quick, and he's coming. He might come on. We can talk about this, and he can add a little bit more depth to what he said. So give me just 1 moment, guys. Hey, sorry, TikTok fam. I'll be right. TikTok fam. I'll be right back. Guys, give me 1 second here. We gotta do this. Toot. There we go. All right, so I sent him the link. JLR could possibly be joining us to talk a little bit more about this. But yeah, so there were attorneys that were too afraid to go against JP Miller. And the thing about this stuff, I was talking also with Pascal today with this case, is there is so much stuff that goes on that it's almost like Murdoch. Like, you're like, how can so much of this stuff be true? Some of it is absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. So for those of y'all asking, JLR is JLR Investigates. He does primarily most of his work on YouTube. So if you're on TikTok only, you might not see him, but he will come on. There will be a conversation. So if you want to jump on, you won't be able to hear it on TikTok, unfortunately. If I do have, my mods know what to do over there. Somebody said, let me see this real quick. Oh, Valerie, that's okay. I'm looking through this while we're waiting for him to possibly come on. And you know what? I can also answer some questions for y'all while we're talking about this, because I don't want to go too much further in this if he's going to come on, because he can explain a little bit better than I can. Take a look here. When people have money, they have the ability to pay people to be quiet. Absolutely. Absolutely. They have the ability to have people to, pay people to be quiet. And that's kind of the thing, and I've said this multiple times when you're looking at, and this, by the way, this is why I still will encourage JP Miller to tell his side of the stories. I think that, if we're saying things that are wrong based on the information that's out here, you have an opportunity to come out, use your voice, and correct it. That's what I'll say. But, as of now, the way that it's understood is that, this is a man who's got over $5.5 million in assets. He was bringing home bags of cash. Did all of it get funneled through? Because, Crocodile Rocks, the bar, is going to be high cash flow. The churches are high cash flow because of donations. And it's a big church. So I'm not going to sit here and accuse anyone of money laundering, but I'm not going to say that that's not what it doesn't look and sound like. The other thing too, when you had the bombshell that came out the other day about the fact that Micah had called the IRS the week that she passed away, and now we know that the FBI is investigating in regard to this Dare to Care Africa mission. They're talking about how in the Dare to Care Africa mission that people out there never got the money that was supposed to be donated to them. It's very interesting. I'm going to put up what Emmy said too. So when I was talking about the bags of money and girls, that's kind of the rumor, right? That's kind of the rumor. What you're seeing right there is trafficking. Again, not being accusatory, but that is the rumor. So, it's a big challenge that we're dealing with here in trying to navigate this, and it's so complex. But what I started to say and then got sidetracked was, we had Alec Murdaugh not too long ago, right? And Alec Murdaugh, he got away with so much for so long, and he wasn't caught, wasn't reprimanded by any local law enforcement. He wasn't reprimanded by SLED, South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, which is like the TBI here in Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. It wasn't until the FBI came down that he finally, had to pay the piper, so to speak, because he wasn't able to have his sphere of influence to pay off the FBI. And, JP Miller has the FBI investigating him. That's not a question, y'all. That's confirmed. That's confirmed. And if the FBI is looking at you, the odds are not in your favor that something's not going to happen. The odds are very high that they are going to get you on something. Very high. Very high. So, I don't know. And, it was really interesting about JLR. For those of you who aren't aware of JLR, he speaks about this on his channel. He spoke about it last night. JLR, and maybe when he's on in a few minutes, if he gets here, has had his own run-in with this process. He did hard time. No violent crimes. The FBI got onto him. They investigated him, and he was indicted and went to jail. So JLR knows. There he is, speak of the devil. He knows how this process works. He's not shut up. Hey, how are you?
Hi, Justin.
How are you? Good. I'm so glad to have you on today. After we were just talking about you and your knowledge with the system, with the FBI, because I know you're not shy about sharing your story and having
not at all.
But yeah, so what I just told them, so to catch you up to speed, because I know you've been driving, is I told them what you had shared, which was about the three attorneys. And how Regina was the first and only one to help her, and that how Mike had confided in friends that JP brought home bags of cash once a week, and it was funneled into the church. And I also mentioned that there's also rumors with people who had spoken with the FBI about things involving women and young girls going through, clubs in that area. I didn't go too much further than that because then Magnolia said that you could come on for a few minutes. So that's where it's at, and would love you to put on any insights that you have.
Yeah, so right now, boots on the ground. I'm at 41 Grove Street. I'm at the last spot that Micah stopped in the afternoon of the 27th around 1:27 p.m. He stopped at this spot here and got gas, and then went into the store and got a drink. And then from here, she proceeded to go to Lumber River State Park to do, the unimaginable. But I was just in here speaking to the employee in here, is a female. She doesn't know anything about the case. She didn't even know, when I said Micah Miller, she had no idea what I was talking about. So I was a little bit shocked. This place is very remote. My question is, and I was going to go in there and try to ask the clerk, and maybe somebody from your audience can enlighten this, but apparently, and then we found out today, she wasn't driving her vehicle. It was believed that the black vehicle that she was driving was actually Diana's, who was her roommate when she was living at Margarita in that apartment complex right down the road from Walmart. So she was driving her car. But my question is, why did I'm told that she got a full tank of gas and a drink. Now, my question is, if you were going to do self-harm on yourself, why would you even get a full tank of gas? And why would you even get something to drink when you're going to do some sort of self-harm just a short time afterward? Can anyone answer that question?
There we go. Sorry about that. I have a little bit of an echo. Apparently, hopefully it went away. I need to get that fixed, but nevertheless, no, it's a great question. There's a lot of things that, like, why did you make yourself a grilled cheese sandwich if that was going to be your last meal, and a cold grilled cheese sandwich at that? Why are there bullets in the
supposed to go
tree?
to work.
Yeah, why did we only hear one? Why was there only one gunshot and bullets in the tree and extra casings on the ground?
Exactly. Let me show you over here these gas tanks, because these are about as old as you could be. These are like 1970 gas tanks here. I just want to show you. I don't know if I can spin the camera around. I don't know if I can how to do it here, but the gas tanks here are pretty old-fashioned. These are these old. See what I mean? It's pretty wild. It's old. These old type gas stations, from the 1980s. It's a little store here.
I haven't seen a gas pump like that in 20 years.
Exactly. But yeah, she came here. Now, there's some things I want to know, right? I'm a little confusing about what type of agreement that the family got with JP in reference to the possessions. I'm assuming the vehicle is one, but I'm also told that the FBI has Micah's phones. It's I don't think that Robeson County has her phones. I think the FBI. So is that part of the agreement once the FBI relinquishes these phones, if they have them, and I believe they do? That's what I'm told. Does Regina Ward, the attorney, get her phones too? And what type of items are we talking about that they have an agreement that they can get back? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, based on what I heard on it was that it was the purse and all of its contents, the vehicle and its contents, but the vehicle itself will go back to the godmother, and I guess the contents inside it would probably go back to Regina, and then the phone. But it was very interesting because the way that they worded is I think it was worded similarly to once Robeson County and other authorities are done with it. I mean, they made sure to mention other authorities were done investigating, then they would release to back to Regina, but JP would have access to them through his attorney.
Okay. And I heard nothing today in court about the probate court aspect. So was that just smoke, or was that I know JP told you that, correct? About a probate?
Correct.
So is that just a lie, or is that still a probate going on?
So when it comes to that kind of stuff, it goes a little bit over my head. So I don't know exactly, but what I will say is I wonder if the paperwork for that still being filed, and maybe this temporary order was to help sustain that until all that proper paperwork to get submitted for. I mean, I don't know exactly, but I know that he based on what he said to me, he wants to go through probate first.
Yeah, someone at the press conference today asked a question to Regina about the FBI and her thoughts on the FBI investigating this case, and she wouldn't comment on it. She wouldn't say anything about it. And Mia Magnolia spoke to another person today. We were keeping these people, we're keeping these names to protect their anonymity, but I do trust them with the truth of what, when they tell us things. But another person has now just spoken to the FBI about JP Miller, and they said they spoke to the FBI via the phone just in the last 24 hours. So now that's 4 that we know of. 4 people have spoken to the FBI. So Regina didn't want to comment on it today. It's pretty much validating, I think, that the FBI are definitely looking into this case.
Would you, and I don't know if you would mind, I don't think you would, but I'll ask you just briefly, because I know you went through it. A lot of people, so the FBI, well, I'll say this first. The FBI doesn't give you updates, y'all. The FBI is not going to say, this is where we are in an investigation. They're going to do what they have to do, and then bam, somebody's getting indicted.
Listen,
JLR,
I was indicted. I was indicted in 2003. My charges were wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy, fraud with an access device, right? I take ownership in what I did. I was young. I was in my early 20s. I hacked into banks. Never stole from people, stole from banks. However, the banks are insured by the FDIC, which makes it a federal crime. Okay? When the federal government had an indictment against me, it was a sealed indictment. Sorry, it's a little bit loud here. A lot of tractor trailers going by. The federal government had a sealed indictment against me. I did not know about the sealed indictment. I was living in the state of Florida, going about my business. I was at a grocery store shopping. And when I walked out of that grocery store, FBI agents in multiple vehicles surrounded me and swooped me up. I was shocked to the core. I actually thought I was being kidnapped, and swooped me into the back of a vehicle. And from that point over, I never saw freedom for 10 years. And I was in back. They had badges. They basically had, at the same time of them, because when they arrest you, then they unseal the indictment. But when they had me, they had a folder. And at the same time as them arresting me, they were also warranting my home, warranting my P.O. box, and warranting a business I had, like a commercialized office that I had, and they were setting warrants there. So simultaneously, they had multiple warrants going off at the same time. I never knew they were coming. You don't know. You don't know until they come. So even if indictment, which I feel in this particular case, it's going to be an investigative grand jury, or one where a grand jury will decide a true bill indictment, JP's not going to know when this goes down. They might possibly give him a target letter to let him know he's under investigation to get his side of the story. Most likely not. Usually the target's not. He will just basically wake up one morning, walk outside, and they will be picking him up and or busting his door down. No, I think it's nonviolent charges. I think there is policy nowadays. If it's nonviolent, they can't be just going gun blazing into anyone's home anymore. But if he steps out, there's a good chance at any day between here and 18 months, he could go down, and he's not going to know.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that for people. And for the person that asked, what is the relevance of this? This is what we're talking about with an FBI investigation. The point is that the FBI isn't local PD. They do not give you updates. They don't have to. They don't need to. They do their investigating. They do what they need to do. But typically speaking, once you have a target on your back, you have a target on your back. I don't know if you know this story. I'll be real quick with this because this is not overly relevant, but it is, but it isn't. If they have targeted you and they're putting resources towards you, then you're probably going down. And as you know, because we've talked about it, I own a DeLorean. John DeLorean was indicted by the FBI. Okay. And when the lead agent on that case came into work that day, and I mean, this is back, early 80s, was came in that day, John DeLorean's picture was up on the wall. And he said, "Who's that?" He said, "That's your new target." He goes, "Who's that?" He goes, "That's John DeLorean." Well, who the hell is John DeLorean? They purposely targeted him. They pretended to be cartel agents to get him into this, drug trafficking scheme and arrest him, because that was, I mean, again, it's different now, but my point is, if they want you, they will find a way to get you.
I think the fact that, the church, and I'm not saying they're fully tax exempt, whatever IRS code they're under, whatever like that, it requires a lot of paperwork and forms and whatnot. And if if he was like I'm told, taking bags of cash from one business and putting it in and laundering it into another and everything like that, on these forms itself, they're going to go through all these forms, and anything that he said or misrepresented or lied on a document, that's an 18 USC 1001 false statement charge right there, because he'd be lying under the penalty of perjury. So they're going to be reviewing documents, I believe. They're going to be going through bank records, financial records, probably getting corroborating, with witnesses, maybe possibly flipping somebody from the church that might even be involved with him and offer them a sweeter deal, or bring them in to either one, wear a wiretap or cooperate with authorities on him. Something tells me that this is not going to be a sole indictment. I think when an indictment comes down, and I don't even say if, I honestly think it's when, there might be multiple names on this indictment. He'd probably be the top of the list. Maybe his dad might be on the top of the list. Who knows? But I think we're going to see, I suspect, 4 or 5 names on top of him.
Interesting. Are you able to whatever so, okay. That I was texting with Magnolia this morning, and she shared a lot of stuff with me that you guys have kind of, and obviously we don't want to be accusatory. Everything is alleged, but are you able to speak to any part of that at this point in time? If not, that's okay. But if you can.
About what? What specific? Like, what do you mean?
How can I word it? About the person that you spoke to who all the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they want to know they want to know if they've personally seen JP do anything on Micah ever. So it's like witness, like have they ever seen JP do anything on Micah? They want to know about the bags of cash that they're claiming they saw, or Micah told them about these bags of cash, and just about the inner workings of Solid Rock Church. That's 3 things that I can say that they told me. And one yesterday spoke to 4 agents. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of times in these cases too, you might have one agent and maybe one agent only that does all the investigation and the one that files the affidavit. But it looks like multiple agents here are looking into this. So 4 agents tells me this is a conspiracy, my opinion.
Do you think that there's more, as far as federal agencies go, do you think that there's more than the FBI that's involved in this, or just the FBI at this point? Like, do you think that Homeland Security could be involved, or have you heard anything like that?
Could be Secret Service dealing with money, IRS, Homeland Security, not so sure. I would say, but plus I wouldn't doubt if SLED is involved in some way. A lot of times nowadays, these FBI agents, believe it or not, they partner with county officials and other entities, and this could be a SLED thing too. All I'm hearing is for sure FBI, federal government. That means you got the DOJ. That means the Department of Justice. That means that, that's the biggest of the big. I mean, you're not going to beat a federal case. He has no chance whatsoever. When they indict you, they're going to make sure their ducks are lined up. So they can't get any acquittal, whatnot. And not only that, but JP financially is in big trouble if he's charged by the feds, because, anytime anyone is going to retain a lawyer in this type of circumstance, his lawyer is going to want $100K.
Oh,
just to take the case. Now, if you're going to try that in a conspiracy, you ain't going to win. If there's a conspiracy, and that's what the feds like to do too. They like to get conspiracies because someone in the conspiracy most likely flips. And you're not going to beat a federal jury or judge. You can take it to a judge. He's just not going to beat it. He's just not going to beat it. And it will drain him financially. The federal sentencing guidelines are harsh on fraud. Federal sentencing guidelines, it goes by dollar amount. And then you get into obstruction of justice, money laundering, different types of the frauds puts enhancements and points. So it's a number system. So I could seriously, now he has a criminal past, so he's not squeaky clean. And those points, even though he has a past from...
I'm sure it's...
Can you hear me okay?
You're there, but you're back. Well, you were back.
Okay. Yeah.
You're back.
The federal sentencing guidelines is in numbers, and it's numbers. And, he has a criminal past. Those points, I don't care if it's the conviction 30 years ago and it's a pardon. There's points, and the points add up. And the dollar amount, the more money you steal, the more the points go up. And he very well could be category 3, category 4, level 30, which puts him in a guideline range of 15 years.
And one thing to give people a statistic on that, because I read it, when you get indicted by the FBI, their chance of winning is 97%.
Yeah.
It's
literally, unless you're some sort of I can't remember anybody on a federal level that actually would beat it. You got to drop a lot of money on a lot of attorneys, and most of the time the ones that beat the case are sole defendants. They actually resolve 94% of the cases are resolved. Not many people take it to trial. You just can't afford it. Unless he wants to go with a public defender, but that would even give him, all the way up the top of the guidelines, and he could turn 15 years into 30 years easily if he goes to trial. And they punish you based off you going to trial. That's just how they do.
And just so you know, one name that beat a federal indictment, John DeLorean beat his. He got acquitted.
So did Andrew Gillum down there in Florida, political figure in Tallahassee. He did too, but he didn't really have serious charges.
No, it's rare though. It's very rare. So while you're down there, obviously I appreciate you taking the time and jumping on with us, because I know you're slammed. You're all over the place down there. By the way, it's JLR Investigates on YouTube. Drop him a follow. You'll say you got like 200 or 300, like some ridiculous amount of following over there. He's always boots on the ground. He was here in Nashville during Riley Strain. He was here, for Sebastian Rogers. He's been in Idaho. I mean, you're everywhere. So, great great for coverage, you know, talking to people. So go drop him a follow for sure. But while you're there, have you been out to the state park yet?
Yeah, me and Magnolia went there at the beginning stages a week after this tragedy happened. We already went up there. We already talked to the park ranger. We got their PIO. We went to the scene. We talked to Johnny, who was the fisherman that heard her cry and heard the gunshot, the one gunshot. I did an exclusive interview with him. He didn't want his face on camera, so I actually played it with his voice. He was next to me with his back turned and everything like that. He was just real spooked because this guy was, you know, getting accused of a lot of things. People were thinking he's involved. People were thinking he was JP's hitman. He knew more about it. He's an innocent guy. He's just a guy that does cabinets for a living, and he just goes out there and fishes once in a while, and he just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. And I was also out there when Micah's family, after they went up to Robertson County to get the results and the rulings and the results of what happened. They went afterward. They went there and laid flowers down at the spot where Micah's body was found and everything like that. And we kind of gave them their space in that moment. You know, we were there documenting. We filmed them walking down the trails, you know, but we didn't want to go so farther because that's a time for them to be alone and grieve, you know, so we respected their privacy in that aspect. But yeah, it's very remote out there. I just can't see how Micah has any, like, how she chose that place, why. It's still a mystery, but it's far and it's out of the way from anyone she knows.
And it's like mucky to go through, like mud and dirt and just water.
Yeah, it's a slough. So in the slough is like, basically it's like at the end of the river is like, it's a little like a pond-ish area. It's like brackish water. It's soupy, swampy, whatever. It's really hard to get to, and that's where that ended up happening. She had to walk like quite a distance. She had to walk like literally like a mile and a half from where she parked in the parking lot. She parked on the parking lot and went through a couple campgrounds down a trail to this location.
Interesting.
Yeah. But we haven't been there back since. I don't really think at this point there's no need to go back there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I don't think that you've seen it once, you've seen it, you know. You don't need to necessarily go back. So what surprises do you have in store for us next?
Me and Magnolia, we're most likely gonna see Micah's family within the next 24 hours, and we're gonna talk with them.
Great. Okay, great.
So we're just gonna see how they're doing and if they want to share and put anything on the record. Other than that, I think at this point, I don't want to go anywhere near JP Miller at this point. I don't want to go just based off him making accusations against so many people. It seems like he's weaponizing the police department, and anyone that's just peacefully filming or doing anything. He makes wild claims by claiming people has guns. So I don't even want to put myself in that position to even go near him. I don't think there's no point at this point of going near him. We're going to use our platform to try to bring awareness to Micah's law. As you heard Regina Ward say today at the court, you know, they're trying to push this through. So, you know, we support that. We support all victims of domestic violence, and hopefully we can get this bill passed. So we're going to use this platform to bring awareness, and we're just going to keep our eyes out on what JP Miller is doing, rational, whatever, what he's up to, you know, see if he jumps to the next female or, you know, sees what he tries, what tricks he has up his sleeve. We definitely have all eyes in the area. We have a support and source base. We have a lot of people in this area that feed us information. So we're in the know. We're in the know 24/7, 365 on this case.
I thought it was very interesting. It was like almost jaw on the floor when she said, "Hey, yeah, this law, it's already written. It's already been put in front of, you know, legislators, and it was done so in February of 2020. And then again in 2021. And so I'm sitting there watching this press conference, and I pick up the phone and I called her office, Regina Ward's office, because, you know, these attorneys have things like that. I said, I want to put you in touch with Joseph Tito because nobody's going to tell that man no.
Yeah.
And he's been successful, you know, in 3 states. So, you know, it's really unacceptable because it's so much of this stuff could be prevented if some of these lawmakers would just get off their butts.
She could have been. She very well could have been alive today if Micah's law type of law was in play at the time. But probably would have gave law enforcement tools to be able to, protect Micah. I really do. But, Micah, she's going to save lives. I think the law will be passed. I think there's so much pressure now on this law to be passed that it's going to hit the floor. It will be passed, and future people that are in that same position Micah was in will and then guys too. We're not just saying this only happens to females; it happens to males too. People put in that type of position can get the remedy and help needed, so it doesn't end up like what happened to Micah. So I think it's going to happen with relatively quickly. I think Regina means business. I think she was on fire today. She's a good attorney. I think the Francis and Honeycutt family are in great hands.
Yeah, I do too. I think that she was on fire today. I would totally agree. She was great. She was passionate.
I got one of those packets she gave out too. She gave out a packet on Micah's law, so I'm going to review that. She gave manila envelopes out, and I got one, so I'm going to be reviewing that too.
Yeah, let me know how I can help.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you having me on. I'm here at this store here. Again, I'm shocked that the employee doesn't know anything about the case and stuff like that, but it's quite busy. I mean, there's people, if there's people that keep coming here like left and right. I guess it's not much stores around here, not much around here. So this is like the big thing around here in this rural area, Mullins, South Carolina.
Yeah, and I appreciate you coming on as well. And I really enjoyed our conversation yesterday. So would love to continue collaborating with you as much as you would like.
Yeah, thank you for everything you do, man. You do wonderful work, Justin, and you care. You're passionate. You're professional, and we support you 100%. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate it, and likewise. Yeah, thanks for coming on. Y'all be safe out there, and I will talk to you guys soon.
Yep. Until next time. Thanks, Justin. Bye-bye.
Hey. So appreciate him coming on. Let's do a couple real quick. We got some super chats while that was going on. Then we'll answer a couple more questions. So real quick here for everybody who did this. Micah's gone. Attorney's fees ceased. Nest egg preserved. Secrets kept. Check, check, check. So this says this FL court reporter. Here's the thing. You bring up a good talking point. By the way, real quick while I'm doing this, I'm scrolling both the domestic violence hotline and the suicide hotline below for anybody who needs that, because there is help out there if you feel that it's hopeless or know somebody that is. So please take note of those numbers if you or somebody that needs them. But yeah, no, you're right. There's a saying that Ben Franklin had, which is 3 people can keep a secret when 2 of them are dead. And it works with 2 people as well. If Micah was calling the IRS and Micah was talking to the FBI, which is what we understand was going on, then yeah, that's, let's put it this way. Boeing had 2 of their whistleblowers mysteriously, have health issues and pass away. That means no more testifying against them. So you're 100% not wrong there. And also thank you, of course, for the super chat. We have this one again. Thank you so much. Just a thought. Could someone have taken note of what happened in Kansas to those 2 moms traveling a very remote area? What Micah's ex-father-in-law said about the drive made me think of that. I don't know. That's a really good question. I think we should ask around on that. It's a good question, a good thought, because that's also a very remote area. This is a very remote area. So unfortunately, your cameras are going to be less and less. But somebody somewhere might have seen something. The unfortunate thing is when you're dealing with with her car, for example, that it would have to be something that would stick out, because when you're dealing with a Honda Civic, those don't really stick out. They're a very inconspicuous car. But that's a very good point. Because this day and age, it's hard for people not to see things, We have another one. Thank you guys so much. Reality again. Thank you. That's your second one. We have multiple 3-letter agencies looking at you. You get scared. He got scared. Hell, if I had one 3-letter agency looking at me, I would be terrified. That's not the type of attention that I want at all, And yeah, we don't want that here. That's not what we want. So I agree with you. And like JLR was saying, if the FBI, some people were asking, what does that have to do with anything? When the FBI, his story, the story that I told you about John DeLoyne long ago, when they set eyes on you, they've set eyes on you. The likelihood of you going down is incredibly high for something. And just remember too, they never, and I've said this multiple times during this and even other cases that we've covered, they got Al Capone on tax evasion, not murder, not anything else. They got him on tax evasion, and he died in prison. So if there's something going on, they're gonna uncover it. You're not gonna hide from the FBI. You're not gonna hide from forensic accountants. You're just not gonna do it. They want you again. They picked up JLR. This is back in the early 2000s at a grocery store. They knew where he was. So you're right. You're 100% right. We have this one. Good old boy system that enabled Alex Murdoch. Oh, you deserve the applause too. Thank you, Christy. Good old boy system enabled Alex Murdoch. I hope this will get their attention. Thank you for what you do. Yeah, I agree. And I know that when I was in JLR's live last night, I had made that comment that, like, what's going on in South Carolina? You local law enforcement didn't come down on Alec Murdoch. They didn't come down on JP. SLED didn't come down on either one of them either. And it wasn't until the FBI got involved. I was like, well, you're bashing agencies. I'm out. You know what? The reality is there's the reality. If it looks like a duck, walks like a duck. You had a lot of things happening under the nose. JP Miller's not been charged with anything yet. So, we can, it's all speculation up until you see charge, but we know what Alec Murdoch's charges are, right? And he got away with a lot for a long time with, South Carolina and SLED just turning the other way. And that could very well, we might very well soon see and hear that that's the same with JP Miller. It's very, very possible. But yeah, I think to me that it shows a pattern when you have, because, again, I can't speak to what JP is going to have because we don't know. We just know there's an investigation, but how many charges, financial crimes, people that were stolen from through Alec Murdoch? He was hit with over, like 99 or 100 financial charges. How did that go on for the years that it went on without anybody locally uncovering it and it taking the FBI to do it? I think it just makes you sit back and wonder. It makes you have to wonder what's going on. So anyways, that's what we have going on today, y'all. It's been a lot. It's been a lot. It's been a lot. And so, just a quick reminder as we go, if you were coming in late, I want to make sure I'll tell you. Can I get it back up here? Yeah, I can get it back up here. Before we go today, let me just remind you of this in case you came in late. Sorry, I'm trying to look at my screen here. A couple of things I want to remind you. We'll do this again. First, there is a new Justice for Micah website. Please go check that out, justiceformicah.com. There were also the two new. I cannot get it. My camera is like literally right in front of my face, so it makes it hard to see. But there was literally this new flyer that you can go pull off my Instagram or my X. Everything is the same name. And then very most importantly, regarding CrimeCon and things that you can do to help. Let me share this screen real quick. And if you would like to have a chance to win VIP passes and hotel to CrimeCon in Denver in September of 2025, you can go to justinontiktok.com, scroll down just under the Justice for Micah link. You will see the link for the Guy Petito Foundation hosting this raffle and giveaway. It's $25 to enter versus the $300 to $400 per ticket you would spend, not VIP. So it's really a good deal. And even if you don't win, the money goes to a great cause. We stand Joe Petito, the whole Petito Schmidt family on this channel. So they're doing wonderful things. The money that you do helps go to wonderful things. And they're trying, as a retired just at EMT said, this needs to be law in all the states. Joe Petito, or the Guy Petito Foundation, has done a great job. We're up to close to 4 states, about to pass in New York, as you heard me say earlier, is about to pass it. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and then lastly, I will just say, because, again, we got to pay the bills. We got to pay the bills here. Just on TikTok.com or TikTok shop. Seriously, if y'all have kids and you haven't purchased at the very least the Secrets book, again, that book was written out of some of the cases I cover to help keep kids safe. Please consider purchasing it, to have in your arsenal as a parent, as a tool. I promise you, read the reviews on it. I'm not just trying to, boast myself. It is something to help. I wrote it to help keep kids safe. So just keep that in mind. And same thing for Boundaries. If you are in a situation where you are no contact, you're breaking generational cycles, it is a book you definitely need because it's the only resource like it that exists, unfortunately. So yeah, check it out. Anyways, For my TikTok fam, and if you're on YouTube watching and you want to, tonight is a sub-only live. Usually those are on Tuesday night. But because we had such an amazing conversation last night, we're doing it tonight. And Joe Petito will be dropping in to say hi and talk about a few things. Because do remember that there was some information that was dropped by the FBI regarding that case yesterday. So yesterday, the day before. Nevertheless, hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Great rest of the evening. Thank you all for watching, and we will be back soon. And lastly, if you subscribe, follow wherever you are, would absolutely appreciate it. Thanks, guys, and I'll talk to you soon.